Hello, and welcome to the Fade Route NFL podcast, where we will be talking Thursday night football tonight, week 8. It starts tonight. We have the 1 p.m. games, the 4 p.m. games, Sunday night football, Monday night football. We're going to give out some croutons. We're going to go over sink or swim. We have a new game called Three for the Money. That'll be fun. And then we have a random fact. But before I do anything else, I'm going to welcome in the mayor. Mayor, how are you?
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Fade Route podcast. It's week 8. Worst news about week 8 is we have the most teams on a bye week this week, so we have 3 less football games than we would in any other week. So it only gets better from here with the amount of games we get to consume in the NFL. I have a new surprise for us. I'm going to do the mayor's power rankings, except I'm only going to do the top 6. The top 5 is overrated. The top 10 is overrated. I'm going to give you the top 6 in one particular order or another. I'll give you my reasons for that. We'll do that a little bit later as well. And here's one little tidbit for you. 6 of the 7 teams that lead defensive scoring are either in the AFC or NFC West.
Wow. Yeah, I guess the West divisions are doing pretty well.
Yes, they are.
You were talking about the buys. I was going to say this a little bit later, but it's Arizona, the Rams, and the Seahawks. So 3 teams from the West, and then we have Jacksonville, Las Vegas, and Detroit. So yeah, 6 buy teams this week, and 3 of them from the NFC West. I got a random fact for you. Mark Zuckerberg, heard of him?
No.
Well, this is for everybody else then. So Mark Zuckerberg is colorblind. So specifically red-green colorblind. I've always thought that was weird. Like, does it make it hard to drive? Because sometimes the green light's on the bottom. Like, they honestly do that. But, Mark Zuckerberg doesn't drive himself around, so we don't have to worry about that. That's why Facebook, like, the symbol is blue and the color scheme is blue.
Then why it was Twitter originally blue and LinkedIn?
Maybe those people are colorblind as well.
Okay.
I got to do more research, I guess. All right, let's get into the games. We have a game tonight. Thursday night football is Minnesota at the Chargers. The Chargers are 3-point favorites at home. 44.5 is the over-under. These teams seem sort of even right now. The Chargers looked a lot better at the beginning, but at this point, I think they're pretty even. And that -3 kind of indicates just home field advantage of some kind, which the Chargers don't really have.
Yeah, this is Thursday night games are weird. Sometimes weird things happen. And going into LA, probably not a lot of Minnesota fans that reside in Southern California. I imagine if those people flock from the north, they come down to, the southeast here in beautiful, sunshiny Florida where people just keep building. We were kind of talking about that before the podcast. I think Minnesota has a good chance in this game, and I wouldn't bet against them, but I wouldn't bet against Jim Harbaugh. But these are those Harbaugh moments and the Charger moments that they seem to be like, how did you lose that football game?
Yeah, last week's game was a surprise on Thursday night. Yeah, they're a little wonky for some reason. But I was gonna say there's one reason I can think why they might be Minnesota fans in LA, and that would be the Minnesota Lakers moved to LA. So maybe their fans moved with them. Some of the older fans are still living in LA because it used to be the Minnesota Lakers became the LA Lakers, and now they get to see their team play in Los Angeles. Their football team. I don't know.
Seems like a bit of a stretch, but only time will tell.
All right. Yeah. So I'm staying away from that game as well. 1 p.m. games. The San Francisco at Houston game is Houston favored by 1. At least that's what I saw yesterday. And then the over-under is 41.5. So these teams are both kind of a mystery. San Francisco's playing really well. Houston blew out Baltimore, but other than that, they haven't really looked very good. Do you have any thoughts on San Francisco at Houston?
Brock Purdy might play again. It's not up in the air yet. Houston, we have a problem. I'm going to be working, so I'm not going to be able to watch the game. Their defense is, I think, the number 1 in scoring defense in the league. They simply, this game this past weekend is the most points they gave up in the first half against than any team the rest of the season. I think Houston's defense is going to be there to play. If the 49ers can play mistake-free football and get to 21 points, I think they'll win. It's hard to say, Christian McCaffrey is going to have to be a workload, but Houston, again, is pretty good against the run. So it's going to take a total team effort on San Francisco's part, but it will be Houston's game for the taking. They're at home. And if they can, put some offensive power together like they did this past week, they should get that victory.
Yeah, Purdy's back. That's good. And then they got Kittle back. Do you know if there's a timeline for Ayuk or?
I'm not sure, but Juwan Jennings is back in the lineup
Yeah.
again now, so I think their offense is gonna get some of their weapons back. But that offensive line led down by Trent Williams is phenomenal. The defense kind of stepped up, missing probably the defensive lineman in the NFL and the best middle linebacker in the NFL, and somehow that defense, Robert Sala's got them dialed in still. He's been able to do that time and time again, but they're going to have to continue to play solid defense in order to make a deep run in the playoffs if they can get there.
Yeah, I mean, if they get Ayuk back and Purdy's healthy, they should improve offensively, hypothetically. All right, the Jets are at the Bengals. Bengals are 6.5 point favorites at home. The over/under is 44. The Jets are terrible. That is not news to anybody. I don't know if they've announced who the starter is. It may still be Tyrod Taylor, but I'm not touching this game. These are two what I think of as bad, very bad football teams right now.
Yeah, they're both in like bottom of the offense, bottom of the league in offense, bottom of the league in defense. Not good all the way around. Joe Flacco, I guess he's going to be the starter again, maybe. I'm not sure. There was something going on about he was telling a story earlier in the day about how he used to not like dining alone and always watched a guy and thought they were lonely. And then next thing you know, he's dining alone. He's like, this is actually really nice. Them old Wiley vets, they somehow seem to get it done. They step in. Flacco's done this time and time again. Makes previous teams look foolish to get rid of a quarterback that can be sustainable for your team. The Jets stink. They're going to lose. 6.5 probably isn't enough, but I'm not going to bet that line.
Yeah, I mean, if they looked offensively like they looked against Pittsburgh, then this should be no problem, but we'll see. Cleveland is at New England. New England a 7 point favorite at home. The over/under is 40. Cleveland actually looks decent. I almost thought about this as one of my crouton picks. Cleveland may be covering that +7 somehow, but I have a golden rule about only betting on the good teams. So I'm staying away from that one, but that one looked a little interesting to me. What do you think about that?
Well, by decent, you mean their offense is really good. Or I'm sorry, their defense is very good. I don't see them having a chance in this game. I think New England, so far, there's no doubt that they're probably the biggest surprise of the year so far for the NFL. Mike Vrabel probably going to be a shoe in for the coach of the year at this point. 5-2, what a surprise. Buffalo Bills thought they finally had a chance to run with the division every year for a few more seasons. But they're right on the tails of New England. I think they've kind of stated their woes. Uh, New England's going to win this game big. 7 is pretty big, but I would venture to say it's going to be even more than that.
Yeah, I just think Cleveland's offense has improved somewhat with Dylan Gabriel. I mean, I don't think it's a good offense yet, but they can run the ball and they are competent at least. So my thought was Cleveland +7 looked kind of tasty, but not touching it. New York Giants are at Philadelphia. Uh, Philadelphia touchdown favorite at home. The over/under is 43.5. The Giants coming off an absolutely devastating loss. I don't know. Like people always say, there's losses a team can suffer during the year, and there's psychologically they just don't bounce back. The Bears, I guess last year, I think they lost 10 straight after that Hail Mary against Washington. But I don't believe that, but when I was thinking about it, it might be, just a few players that do get psychologically freaked out by that game. And then that's all it takes to, kind of bring the team down a notch. Do you have any thoughts on the Giants at the Eagles?
Yeah, I think that's the Giants' loss. That's on the coach. At that point, how you give up and how you put your team in a position to lose that game after what happened. Whether or not these rookies that have kind of, lit a fire under the New York media and the New York football team from New Jersey, will remain to be seen. Scadaboo is, a wrecking ball, and he's going to end up wrecking himself. I can't believe in this day and age, with everything known about injuries and everything, that there's still people playing football like this. I don't get it because, I mean, he's only 20 something years old. So, he's known for 10 years, and coaches have known for 10 years that you can't do this. And some reason he's doing it. So I think the Giants are a flash in the pan. I don't see this loss necessarily affecting them, but I don't see them, beating the Eagles a second time. They're going to be ready for them. They're going to tush push their way to the end zone, and they are absolutely going to win this game. And I think they are going to flat out embarrass the New Jersey Football Giants. And a little bit on the tush push, I guess there's talks that by the spring meetings that they are going to ban this play. And it's interesting to see the different runs the NFL teams have come up with to kind of say we're not doing the tush push, but this is just as effective, and they're working. But it's going to be interesting to see that in the offseason.
Yeah, that is going to be kind of fascinating because that's something the teams have been working on, and now if it gets banned, they have to kind of rearrange the formations to figure out how to do it without actually doing the tush push. All right, Chicago's at Baltimore. Baltimore 6.5 point favorites at home. The over/under's 50. I mean, Lamar Jackson's back, but 6.5. Baltimore has not shown any signs of life. Chicago's been up and down, but they look like the better team right now to me. But I guess Lamar Jackson's worth 3.5 points or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me because the Ravens have not been great on defense, and that has been their big problem this season. They can't seem to stop, giving up 40 points, giving up 38 points, 37, 44.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson is great, but he's not good enough to overcome a 40 point, offensive output on the other team. Uh, I think this game's got upset alert all over it. I think the Bears may be a lot better than I led to in the beginning of the season. And I think they're going to, another surprise in the NFL so far this year. Whether or not they could sustain that going and getting into the postseason right now, they're slated to possibly get a playoff spot. We'll see. But I think the Bears are going to put the Ravens on upset alert.
Is it is it really an upset? I mean, Chicago and Baltimore at this point, I don't think Baltimore's a better team.
Well, I think the 6 point difference is what would deem it an upset.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you on that. But I'd play, like you said, it's upset alert. I'd play Chicago plus 6.5 if I was forced to. But this game also, is it going to go over 50? Both of these offenses are going to be good. Baltimore's
Yeah,
defense,
probably.
yeah.
I would think so, maybe.
All right, Miami at Atlanta. The Falcons favored by 7. The over under 44.5. This Miami team keeps trudging along. Very bad week last week. The Giants collapse was big, but this Miami team looks miserable. I don't know how to turn it around or if they will this season or they just start fresh with something new next year. Could be both the coach and the quarterback are gone at some point soon. But Atlanta up and down. I can't figure them out. It's been years trying to figure out Atlanta, and they're always the same. They get blown out, and then they blow somebody out, and then it's losing a game at the end, a stupid mistake. Anyway, Miami is at Atlanta. Do you have any thoughts on this game?
You know, I, I'm is it really Tua's fault at this point? I mean, three interceptions, or he's had three turnovers in 2 or 3 games now, fumbles or interceptions. Now the coach should have benched him a while ago, but their backup can't be any better. So is Mike really going to get a pass this year? Because Tua is obviously the problem. I think last year he was injured one too many times in the head, and it has affected his football play forever. Good news for him, he's got quite a bit of money coming to him over the next few seasons. So he's going to be the Russell Wilson of football, where he gets passed around from team to team on veteran minimums and going to get paid a buttload of money to do absolutely nothing but lose football games. No way Miami wins this football game. Even 7.5 points, even if they gave that for real, they're still not going to win this game. I don't know how a backup's going to be able to come in and make this team play better because they're pretty bad on defense as well. Atlanta wins.
Yeah, one thing that I thought, I mean, we talked about this before, I'm sure, but when you have a star player get injured, that does buy yourself a little more time as a coach. But Tyreek Hill wasn't effective. And I mean, this offense didn't move the ball any better really when Tyreek Hill was there. So I don't know if that's a factor at all thinking forward in the season and then figuring out things in the offseason. But we've talked about Miami every week, and we keep saying, is this the time that he's fired, or does it make more sense to just keep him there the rest of the season and then see how things play out in terms of other coaches being available? All right, let's move on. Buffalo at Carolina. The Panthers getting 7 points at home where they have played really well. 45.5 is the over. This is our first home dog of the week. Buffalo's looking shaky. You mentioned them earlier, behind the Patriots now, and Carolina not great, but they play well at home and they're getting 7 points. So I'm not interested in this game betting wise.
Yeah, Buffalo's rushing the ball really well, 51 yards a game, 151 yards a game. That's first in the NFL. And Carolina's pretty good at stopping the run. So it's going to come down to a matchup of the quarterbacks, and I think Josh Allen, only 4 interceptions on the season on 6 games, so throwing less than one a game. He's been efficient with the ball. 7.5 is a monstrous point differential for being at home. Buffalo wins this game, but I wouldn't touch that bet. Carolina is 4-3. They've got a realistic chance of running down Tampa in the division theoretically. Only one game back, so I think that's going to keep the players motivated, keep the team engaged. But I don't think they're going to get this win against Buffalo.
What do we think about the over under? I'm not touching it, but 45.5, is that maybe under?
I don't know. I'm not even going to venture a guess. It's hard to say.
This
That's a
game
pretty
just
good,
has like
that's a pretty good number.
this game just has like 21-16 written all over it to me, but we'll see. The 4 p.m. window, Tampa Bay is at New Orleans. New Orleans giving or getting four. Keep mixing that up. Getting four at home. The over/under is 46.5. Our second home dog of the week. Tampa Bay just keeps accruing injuries, and I feel like at some point, maybe it has already, it catches up to them. I doesn't mean they're going to lose to the Saints, but they play weird games in New Orleans. Like, I don't have the stats in front of me, but those games have been wacky, even when Tampa Bay seems like a much better team, or vice versa. Thoughts on Tampa Bay at New Orleans?
Yeah, this is like you said. It's a weird game for Tampa when they go into the Bayou.
Hmm.
It's a division game, so anything can happen. Tampa does have a lot of injuries. They got punched in the mouth last week against Detroit. They lost, Evans due to injury. It looks like his 1,000-yard receiving streak is at stake. I think he was about to break a record for that, most consecutive seasons. I think Tampa is going to be okay. They're really competing against Atlanta and Carolina now for the division. They've got another loss or two that they can sustain before they're probably in threat of not winning the division. I think they're going to be resilient in this game, though. I think they will probably get the win. I wouldn't bet the 4 points, though. I think this could be coming down to one of those Baker moments at the end of the game again where they get down into field goal range. and a 3 point field goal at the end. They win by one or two. So look for a victory, but not by much.
Yeah, they could go down looking for the touchdown and just end up with a field goal. I think you're right. So yeah, stay away. Dallas is at Denver. Denver is a 3-point favorite at home. The over under is 50.5. Denver, I just wanted to mention this. I very rarely live bet, but this Denver Giants game from last week, I saw it at, I think it was 16-0 going towards the end of the third quarter. I was like, you know what? Denver still has a pretty good chance, even though they've not scored at all in this game. So I put $5 on that. And then it was 19-0, and I thought, oh, I mean, it's still three scores. Like Denver could probably still pull it out, and I was getting really good odds. Now it's 19-0 at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Who thinks that the Denver's going to win? But I'm like, I'll just go in on this. And so I put 10 total dollars on it, and I swear to God, I think it was 10 times I thought I was losing slash winning the $5 bets. Insane. I mean, that's a record, right? It's been what 2,000 games or something since
Yeah,
that team scored that many in the fourth quarter, and obviously the Giants scored 13. That's 46 points in the fourth quarter.
yeah.
Insane.
It was crazy. What was really weird is watching on the red zone every 5 minutes they were going back to this game, and then it's like, wait, what? Wait, Denver's winning this game now? Wait, how'd that happen? Denver's defense is really good. I think they're second in scoring for the league, defensive scoring. They lead the league with 34 total sacks. Dallas's defense has given up more points than every team but two has scored in the entire league. They've given up 202 points in the season. Only two teams have scored over 200 points, and one of them is Dallas. So the 50 and a half is weird because Denver usually doesn't give up a lot of points, but Dallas
Yeah.
gives up a lot of points and scores a lot of points. Um, I think Dallas could get punched in the mouth in this game. At the end of the day, they've only won 3 football games so far, and I think they're not going to win this weekend. Denver's going to win. I think they're going to win resoundingly, and the defense is going to prevail.
Yeah, speaking as the opposite of what the Giants are going through, that had to give them a lot of confidence the way that game ended. Yeah, 50 and a half is interesting. So I might have that in croutons. Denver, yeah, their defense is good. Their offense is, I mean, 33 points in the fourth quarter after scoring 0 through 3 quarters is just crazy. Dallas might meet their match here in Denver. Tennessee at Indy. This line is 14 points. Indianapolis. I kind of think this is one of those games where, I mean, I don't think anybody's seriously betting the 14 minus 14, but because you're not getting good odds on it anyway. But this is one of those games to me that just feels like it's going to be 24-10, and Indianapolis is kind of like, we're up 2 scores. We're not going to worry about it. And then you're going to see, a field goal from Tennessee or something. And you'd be like, should not have bet the 14. But I wouldn't also guarantee that Tennessee's going to get anywhere near 14 points. So um, I'm staying away from this game. Indianapolis looks good. They should dominate this game, but we'll see. What do you think about Tennessee at Indianapolis?
Yeah, there's no question Indy's going to win this game. 71% of the betting public right now is betting Indy minus 14. That's a
Holy
little
crap.
weird. There's 2% of people betting the money line in Tennessee. Those people are, throwing $10 at a problem and hoping it solves their issue for
Yeah.
whatever they're looking for. If Tennessee wins this game, I'm sure the FBI will be doing an investigation into betting. There's some breaking news today about some illegal poker games with former NBA stars
Yeah.
or maybe current things going on. That's a note for another day. Indy's going to win this game. They're going to win big. 47 is a pretty big number, indicating blowout, and it will be.
Yeah, I didn't think of that when I was looking at the number, but that probably 37-10 or something like that. All right. Sunday Night Football is Green Bay at Pittsburgh, the Aaron Rodgers revenge game. The Steelers getting 3 points at home. Disrespectful. That's our third home dog of the week. The over-under is 44.5. I am not impressed by Green Bay. They look great week one, but they've been kind of, barely winning, tying the Cowboys in overtime. It's not been impressive after week one. And going into Pittsburgh, I think they're going to have trouble here. So, what are your thoughts on Green Bay at Pittsburgh?
Well, they lost to the Browns
Yes,
and they beat the Cardinals and the Bengals.
and that unfortunately that Cardinals game was actually close.
Yeah, and they beat the Commanders, who haven't been what they were last year. That Week 1 win against the Lions, I think, was a fluke. The Lions didn't realize it still wasn't preseason. So yeah, I'm with you on the Packers not necessarily being as advertised, but they have only lost one game this season so far. I don't know if I would call it a revenge game if the team got rid of you and your team got better. So I don't necessarily know if the Packers really care, or even if you know, they owe Aaron Rodgers nothing at this point. He's been a thorn in their side other than one title in the 15 years that he was there. Done nothing but give them headaches and troubles, and they're going to sell football tickets regardless. I don't think Pittsburgh wins this game, though. I think Green Bay, I think some of them players that were around with Aaron Rodgers don't like him very much, and they're going to take a lot of pleasure in making him pay.
Yeah, it will be very. Do want to watch this game. Maybe it'll be a dud, but I think a lot of people will be tuning into this one. Monday Night Football, Washington is at the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs favored by 10.5 at home. The over-under is 47.5. I guess the Chiefs are back. I think we got no Jaden Daniels for this team again. If we see Marcus Mariota, maybe minus 10.5 is a good, is a good number. What do you think?
Yeah, right now Kansas City is the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl on Hard Rock Bet. And I can't help but think that's just them covering their own butts and not getting burned and having to put such, a bigger odds on that. But Kansas City seems like hot and cold this season. You don't know which team's showing up. Their offense is top five, but their defense is, hasn't been great in all moments. But as everyone has learned, betting against Andy Reid is not the best thing to do. Um, We'll have to wait and see. But without Jaden Daniels, Washington is not going to be able to win this football game in Kansas City on Monday night in that crowd in that stadium. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, and KC has got Rasheed Rice back last week, so that could account for how their offense will get better. We saw them just kick the crap out of Las Vegas last week, so I don't expect a different result necessarily here, but 10.5 is way too much. All right, let's get into croutons. So last week I picked the Rams in the London game -3. They had no trouble covering that for 50 croutons over the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then I don't know why we didn't talk about this more. Maybe we did, but I don't remember it. But Indianapolis +2 last week. It says +2.5 was how it ended, but the Chargers, you know, it looks silly in hindsight, but they beat them by 14 in LA. I don't know why. Does the betting public still think the Chargers are better than the Colts? They just don't believe in the Colts yet. I don't know what's happening there.
Yeah, well, like I said, I always get suckered in by Los Angeles Chargers on
Yeah.
bets, and I looked at that line the other week, and I was like, oh, and then I remembered, I was like, nope, the Chargers burned me too many times. I'm not doing it. I stayed away from them. I'm going to do the best I can to stay away from anything Chargers related betting for the rest of my life. I have lost enough croutons because of them. I don't know. I had two bets last week. I went one for one, or I won one, I lost one. so I finished flush on the week. I'm down 250 croutons on the year, and I've got two bets this week. I'm going to tread slowly to try to get back to sea level before I start getting aggressive again.
Yeah, I'm up 100 for the season, but don't go crazy and think you can follow my bets. But so I'll go first. My croutons for this week, I got 50 on Dallas at Denver under, because I think this is trying to suck you in after those 33 points in the fourth quarter. And watching Dallas put up so many points, I think this is going to be a different kind of game. And then I have Pittsburgh uh, +3 at home against the Packers,
Yeah,
also for 50.
I like both of those bets, honestly. I don't think Dallas is going to score nearly as many points as they have in the other couple games, and Denver is going to get Dak Prescott at the very least on the move and on the run. And when Dak Prescott seems to be under pressure, he makes silly decisions, and I just don't think they're going to be able to get that job done. Denver's going to win. I like that over or the under bet. My first bet, you said you weren't touching it, and I see Chicago +6 against Baltimore. I know Lamar Jackson is back. I think I'm foolish, but I'm going to take Chicago +6. I think they're going to win the game anyways. So thanks for the free 6 points. I'll bet 50 on that. And my other game, I'm breaking my golden rule. I had a really tough time. I try to avoid over unders because it's just Vegas is really good at those. And there's so many teams that break my other golden rule of jumping, over a 7 point spread this week. There's a lot of them. But San Francisco at Houston, 41 and a half. I think I think there's going to be enough points scored. Houston proved they can score points last week. San Francisco can put points on the board. I don't see, a 20, like a 24-20 game finish, at the end. So I think it's going to go just over that 41 and a half. I'll bet 50.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. I think the San Francisco offense is kind of rounding in the shape, and they've lost some defensive guys, of course. That makes sense to me. All right, so let's move on to sink or swim.
Okay.
So I picked KC last week, and they in fact did beat the Las Vegas Raiders very easily, and I'm taking Indianapolis this week to beat Tennessee.
Wow, you're taking one of them big teams this week. You may have
Yep,
given them the kiss of death.
I
Probably
could
not,
have.
though. But you have ways to pick on Indianapolis for this week. I snuck in with New England last week. I wasn't a believer in them before, but I took them last week and they won pretty resoundingly. This week I'm gonna dip into the well a little bit and try to save a couple good teams for later on in the season. I'm gonna go with Atlanta for the victory this week. I think they're gonna get it done and come away with the W. It may not be pretty, but I think they'll get that W.
Yeah, I might have thought about taking Atlanta too, but I took them in week 3 and they lost, so I can't do that.
Yeah.
All right, so that's still going strong. It's a strong, healthy competition. We're gonna table, scratch, and sniff until we figure out a better way to do that. We're gonna play a new game called Three for the Money, and I think describing this sounds a little more complicated than it really is. We're just each choosing 3 money line parlays, so you have to pick 3 winners, and one person is going to have the earlier game. So Thursday night, if there's a game in Europe or wherever, then they'll get that one too, plus the 1 p.m. window. And then the other person gets the 4 p.m. window with Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football. It has to be $1. I think that's responsible enough for us to do just $1. um, and the other thing is the reason for wanting to pick something higher with higher odds would be that you get to pick the next week. You get to pick the window for your next 3 team money line parlay for the following week. So that's the incentive. That's how it works. This week I gave the mayor a choice and he took the 1 p.m. window. And what are your 3 winners?
So as I prepare for a podcast each week, I kind of write down random notes here and there, and then it all comes together. And I actually sent you my 3 team parlay yesterday when
Yeah.
when you had concepted this game. and I wrote down San Francisco, Atlanta, and Chicago plus 774. And then when I
Mhm.
made my decisions this morning for sink and swim in my crouton bets, I realized that all three of these teams lined up with the money line parlay I have. So I guess I'm pretty passionate about San Francisco, Atlanta, Chicago all winning. It would be a plus 774 if you were betting a money line bet in Las Vegas. So with that dollar, obviously, it would net the winning payout would be $8.74. That is mine for the week. What is yours?
So I didn't send you mine, so this is gonna be a surprise for you. I'm going with a different strategy this week just to see how it works out. It's not really great odds, but Indy over Tennessee, the money line there, obviously, and then KC beating Washington on Monday night, and then I have the Sunday night game in there too. I'm picking Pittsburgh, so I got Indy, KC, and Pittsburgh. Now you're probably saying to yourself, Indy and KC are going to be stupid odds, and they are. And Pittsburgh's not much either. So mine's only plus 204. So I'm just basically doubling the dollar if I win.
Yeah, you should actually have to pay money if you win that one because that's such a, I mean, in theory, you could bet 1 million to win 2 million, and then it's probably worth it. But if one of those teams loses, then you're out $1 million.
Yeah. So I'm going to hold on to my $1 million, save it for something else. But here's my thought process. It's obviously not guaranteed, especially the Pittsburgh Green Bay game is going to be probably close. But if I make the dollar, then I can use that dollar for next week's free for the money.
Yeah, I was surprised I got such good odds on San Francisco, Atlanta, and Chicago because
Hmm.
none of the teams were like that miss poorly favored and or so I do like my chance. I may actually throw a dollar on Hard Rock and see if I can turn that into $8.
Yeah, I think that's the right thing to do. Actually, you can't afford not to, as I like to say. All right, you said you were gonna do a power ranking, the mayor power ranking that we haven't done this year. I don't believe.
Yeah, so the top five power rankings are boring. Top 10 are boring because there's 10's too many. Nobody cares. Because then you get into a spot where, oh, well, this team beat this team, so they can't be better. This ain't college football. This is the mayor's power rankings, and this is how I kind of see it. Coming in at number six, believe it or not, I have a team that lost to another team, the Los Angeles Rams. They are 5-0 against AFC teams so far this season. They are in the top six of seven of scoring defenses in the NFL. I think they have earned their spot. And another team I got my top or number coming in at number five is the Seattle Seahawks. They are 3-0 on the
Wow.
road this season. They have scored a lot of points and they have not given up a lot of points. That's a recipe for doing really well throughout the season, and no indication of who they played, maybe in their own division. But I think they are what they say they are so far. Coming in
I
at
don't.
number
I know you don't believe in this, but are you jinxing them?
I do have a history of the kiss of death, but I think with Sam Darnold, they have done enough to make my top five or top six power rankings. Coming in at number four, I have Denver. Those 34 sacks in that defense is the reason why they've made it to where they are. That win last week and that comeback proves that the offense is going to be able to produce when asked to and when asked to step up. No lead is going to be safe. No lead in the NFL is safe anymore. How many points do you need more? Score 50. If you score 50, your offense can say, hey, we did everything we could. Then it's on the defense from there, and that's why Dallas
Mhm.
stinks. Coming in at number two, I have New England. They're 5-2 on the season, 4-0 on the road. So nothing is going to be able to shake this team. Vrabel has them ready to play. That revenge game, was pretty sweet. I guess going to be sweet. Always going to be sweet. And they're a really good football team. They're doing everything right. And coming in at number one, or I'm sorry, number two. My count is a little off. Detroit. they've done everything really well. They beat Tampa pretty resoundingly. Everyone was saying Baker Mayfield's the MVP early in the season. Poor Jonathan Taylor, getting no respect whatsoever. Rodney Dangerfield said it best. There's two MVP candidates on Indy right now, and that's what makes them the number one team in the power rankings. They are leading the NFL in scoring, and their defense is phenomenal. They are the best team in the NFL until proven otherwise.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with those. There's a lot of teams that are incredibly up and down, unpredictable. So I'm surprised you didn't put New England in your parlay.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, but I was going for the odds on this one. And for all you avid sifters that are listening along, you notice I didn't have San Francisco in the top six. I think injury prone, they're not winning a lot of great football games. They're not beating big teams, but they are 5-2. They have beat the Rams and they have beat the Seahawks. However, I think the circumstances have changed for Seahawks and the Rams since then. And I think the next time when they come into Santa Clara, it may be different. We'll see. Maybe I'll do my power rankings every other week for the season here on out. We'll see how fast they change, but I think Indy and Detroit are definitely the leaders in the clubhouse in both conferences, respectively. Even though I think San Francisco is at the top of the conference right now.
Yeah. So that's our preview for week 8 and our banter about week 7. We got the new game. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for this week. What do you think is going to be the best game outside of San Francisco? Well, the one you'd want to.
Well, the one I'm going to get to watch in whole is the Sunday night game, the Green Bay Packers revenge game. They're going to demonstrate why they got rid of that quarterback to be named another time. I think Jordan Love is going to flex his muscles a little bit, but I think that's going to be a great game to watch.
Yeah, I agree. That's the game. Dallas and Denver's interesting to me too. Those are my two picks for croutons, but they also I think are going to be interesting games. All right. If that's it, we're going to get on out of here and talk to you next week about week 9 for the mayor and myself. Thank you for listening, and we will talk to you in 1 week.